Good morning, sophomores. We are on the last chapter of our book, chapter 9. So we get to see what happened after Ellie's dad died. Remember, he loses his dad in chapter 8 to dysentery, which is it's like a stomach illness. Makes you really sick. You can't hold down food or water. And you usually get it from drinking bad water. So he died of that. And today we're going to finish chapter 9. I'm going to give you a couple of updates for this week. And then I will be on starting at 10:30 for Google Hangouts if you have any questions or you need me to clarify anything, okay? Night by Elie Wiesel, chapter 9. I had to stay at Buchenwald until April 11th. I have nothing to say of my life during this period. It no longer mattered. After my father's death, nothing could touch me anymore. I was transferred to the children's block, where there were 600 of us. The front was drawing nearer. I spent my days in the state of total idleness, and I had but one desire, to eat. I no longer thought of my father or my mother. From time to time I would dream of a drop of soup, of an extra ration of soup. On April 5th, the wheel of history turned. It was late in the afternoon. We were standing in the block waiting for an SS man to come and count us. He was late in coming. Such a delay was unknown till then in the history of Buchenwald. Something must have happened. 2 hours later, the loudspeaker sent out an order from the head of the camp. All the Jews must come to the assembly place. This was the end. Hitler was going to keep his promise. The children in our block went toward the place. There was nothing else we could do. Gustav, the head of the block, made it clear to us with his truncheon. But on the way we met some prisoners who whispered to us, "Go back to your block. The Germans are going to shoot you. Go back to your block and don't move." We went back to our block. We learned on the way that the camp resistance organization had decided not to abandon the Jews and was going to prevent their being liquidated. As it was late and there was great upheaval, innumerable Jews had passed themselves off as non-Jews. The head of the camp decided that a general roll call would take place the following day. Everybody would have to be present. The roll call took place. The head of the camp announced that Buchenwald was to be liquidated. 10 blocks of deportees would be evacuated each day. From this moment, there would be no further distribution of bread and soup, and the evacuation began. Every day, several thousand prisoners went through the camp gate and never came back. On April 10th, there were still about 20,000 of us in the camp, including several hundred children. They decided to evacuate us all at once, right on until the evening. Afterwards, they were going to blow up the camp. So we were massed in the huge assembly square in rows of 5, waiting to see the gate open. Suddenly, the sirens began to wail, an alert. We went back to the blocks. It was too late to evacuate us that evening. The evacuation was postponed until the following day. We were tormented with hunger. We had eaten nothing for 6 days except a bit of grass or some potato peelings found near the kitchens. At 10 o'clock in the morning, the SS scattered through the camp, moving the last victims towards the assembly place. Then the resistance movement decided to act. Armed men suddenly rose up everywhere, bursts of firing, grenades exploding. We children stayed flat on the ground in the block. The battle did not last long. Toward noon, everything was quiet again. The SS had fled and the resistance had taken charge of running the camp. At about 6 o'clock in the evening, the first American tank stood at the gates of Buchenwald. Our first act as free men was to throw ourselves onto the provisions. We thought only of that. Not of revenge, not of our families, nothing but bread. And even when we were no longer hungry, there was still no one who thought of revenge. On the following day, some of the young men went to Weimar to get some potatoes and clothes and to sleep with the girls. But of revenge, not a sign. 3 days after the liberation of Buchenwald, I became very ill with food poisoning. I was transferred to the hospital and spent 2 weeks between life and death. One day, I was able to get up after gathering all my strength. I wanted to see myself in the mirror hanging on the opposite wall. I had not seen myself since the ghetto. From the depths of the mirror, a corpse gazed back at me. The look in his eyes, as they stared into mine, has never left me. And that is the end of Night. So that's the story of Elie Wiesel and his time during the Holocaust, his survival in the concentration camps. I want you guys now for this week, you need to finish up chapter 7 and 7 through 9, comprehension questions and vocab. You also need to work on that journal. And please be thoughtful with that journal. We're trying to give you an outlet to write, to express how you're feeling, any frustrations, anything that's going on with the situation that we're in right now. And I want you to be thoughtful. Okay, please be thoughtful. Put some thought into those. You need at least a paragraph or two for each day. Okay, at least a paragraph or two for each entry would be great. So 10:30, if you have any questions, I will be on Google Hangouts. I'm probably going to shorten those to 15 minutes because I haven't had a lot of you getting on, only a couple at a time. So I think 15 minutes is fine. So wait for your class's time and go ahead and get on if you have questions. I'll talk to you all later.